皆さんおはようございます。日本の東京大学国際科教育プログラム PEAK Program in English at 駒場によって日本で勉強中のある外国人留学生はこの度文部科学省の海外体験プログラムとしてここロサンゼルスへ短期訪問のため来ております。オーストラリアからの女子学生です。彼女は写真花嫁から見る日系アメリカ人の結婚恋愛の変遷というタイトルの短編ドキュメンタリーを作ろうとしています。今日はその女性にスタジオの方へお越しをいただいております。シェリー・ジェーンさんです。シェリーさん、nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What made you feel you want to make a documentary film about Japanese Americans picture bride marriage?
So there are several reasons for why I joined this program, first of all. And I think, well, ever since I was little, I enjoyed watching films. I appreciated film as a really powerful communication tool, except it was something that I was only ever involved with as in the place of an audience. And so I really wanted to, experience what it's like to be behind the camera for once, from organizing the production to...
Okay, so it's not from the audience side, it's from production side.
That's right.
Because you want to express your thinking, your thought.
Yeah, I want to be able to communicate something using a new way of communication, a new tool that I've never used before. I think film is a very powerful tool. And nearly everyone can access it. It's easy to just watch and listen and learn,
right?
But it's not easy to teach people and tell people things through the camera. And so that is one main reason why I decided to join.
When did you start to feel that you want to do that?
You're
real young?
Not particularly. I think I wouldn't have tried if I hadn't seen the program. I wasn't introduced to the program through the university, except prior to that, during high school, my friend and I, when we were studying Japanese, a lot of competitions would come our way, and some of them included film, and we'll just film little skits that we wrote and filmed and performed ourselves, and that was just a fun time for us, but it never got professional, and so I wanted to immerse myself in
Really? Well, that's another thing I would like to know, why you were interested in Japanese.
Right,
and then even go to Japan.
Way back, yeah. So during high school, it was mandatory to study a language, and I was torn between Japanese or French.
Only two kinds of language you can choose?
Oh no, there was more than that, but of all the languages, I just felt like Japanese or French appealed to me, and I just chose Japanese on a whim, and it turned out to be the language I kept on studying for 7-8 years now. And
your Japanese must be very good now.
No, I wouldn't say.
いかがでしょうか?
大丈夫ですけど Yeah, it's okay. But from that, I really realized that language is my passion. I really want to accumulate different knowledge through language. And I think the main reason why I came to Japan is I realized learning from overseas from a textbook is pretty limited if you only get to touch the textbook once or twice a week. And so I really have to challenge myself in a foreign environment, surrounded by native speakers of the language, and see where that takes me.
And you also have to know the society, the culture, the history, everything in order to understand the language, right?
I've learned so much just in that 1 year compared to my 6 years.
Do you find out it's so difficult or hard or not that bad?
I feel like my high school education has prepared me not to feel too shocked.
That's right.
Except naturally, I think being away from family and studying at the same time is a whole new experience altogether. And so that has added an extra, I guess, challenge to my studies.
Was it kind of tough for you travel from Australia and leaving your parents, your siblings, and then go to completely strange culture, strange country?
I think sometimes
big challenge for you.
It is hard, but I think sometimes I'm a little cold to feeling homesick. I really feel homesick because there's so much going on, and all the students in my peak program with me, we're all in the same boat, and so I guess in tough times we all help each other out, and so homesickness wouldn't last long.
Really? So so much exciting things in the campus.
You
don't
can
have
imagine
time to
the
feel
first year.
Homesick. Huh?
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can tell me more about peak program, because
Right.
I heard that it's very new
New,
and interesting
yeah.
for Tokyo University.
Yeah.
As you know, that Tokyo University is just like Harvard University or UC Berkeley here, and yet they try to start in the education, the classroom start everything in English.
Right, right.
So what do you think that Japan or Japanese government start to do this kind of program?
Right. So the whole point of the program was to globalize the campus and make it more internationally competitive and just expose the students more to international students, I guess. So PEAK stands for Programs in English at Komaba, which is the name of the junior campus. And we've got two streams, Japan and East Asia program and the environmental sciences program. So right now I'm in the Japan and East Asia program.
Right.
For the first 2 years, all students have to undergo liberal arts education, and we study a bit of everything, but what sets us apart from the rest of the university is it's completely in English. Japanese students are free to come and join our classes.
But they have to speak in English.
But yeah, that's the catch. They have to speak in English.
Was it tough for them, or?
For some reason, they seem really excited by
they enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a challenge to them, but they don't shy away. They really speak up during class and ask questions, maybe even more than the international students.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you get to know a lot of students from all over the world.
Right, right, right.
So how many, I mean, which country has more students in that peak program?
I would say from South Korea. And
the most?
One of the most. I think when you add the second and first years together, they've got quite a number. As well as, but people come from multiple countries too, so they've got dual citizenship and such. New Zealand, we've got quite a number as well, several from one school.
Okay,
yeah.
So are you just a freshman over there? So you have to stay?
I just finished my freshman year.
That's right, huh? Because this peak program, they try to start the class or the school year from September, right? Instead of April.
September, October, yeah.
Right, that's very unusual in Japanese educational system. But, so exciting. So after commercial, I'll have some more question for you.
Sure.
Thank you. Sherry-san, before you come to Tokyo, and I'm pretty sure you know Tokyo University is the best academic institute in Japan, and it's so hard for even Japanese kids to get in.
Right.
And was it easy for you to get in?
I wouldn't say it was easy, but I guess it's a different process compared to the rest of the university. You have to submit your scores from your high school university entrance exam. You have to submit a few essays and interview. There's quite a few stages, and I think just the time that you have to wait alone is quite stressful. You're kept waiting. Have I made it or not?
Right. Do you have to take a TOEFL test, TOEFL?
I was born in Australia and raised in Australia, so I'm a native speaker.
That's right.
As long as I can prove that with the citizenship, then there's no need to take it.
I see. So you have been there studying for 1 year already. Now tell me, what do you think about it?
Well, it's
such a long story.
Yeah, what I start, it's a new program, and so I think things are still changing and are always changing.
You mean the school side?
As in our courses.
Right.
They take our feedback at the end of the semester, and we help them change it for the next year. And I think the first year has already ended, and so we've got 1 year of seniors above us, and they've already changed a few things. For example, Japanese language classes, just the number of classes we take, how long it goes for, and the kind of material that they cover, that changes with our feedback.
Okay, so your first year was Japanese.
My first year?
Right. Language itself.
Language itself was English. It was all taught in English.
Right, but then your major.
Oh, right.
Not major. I mean, what did you study in the first year?
We can't choose our majors right now, but in a liberal arts program, we study a bit of everything.
Right.
So we have English classes as well, not the typical English as a second language.
You don't have a problem at all.
Yeah, no, just things like reading about different theories, producing our own essays and our own thoughts about those theories. We also have a journalism class. We have, this is all different depending on the stream you're in, but for Japan and East Asia, I guess it focuses more on the arts and humanities side. We also have, we have sociology, political theory classes. We have,
so
there's so many there.
So when you're in the Tokyo University, well, of course you you didn't finish the college in your country. So when you come to Japan, you study whatever, of course, the material all provided by Japan side, the Tokyo University.
Right.
Did you realize, or did you find something? It's kind of a little bit discrepancy from whatever you have learned, or you have read, or you have heard.
Not so much of a discrepancy, but I think when you've got students from all over the world in one classroom, you start to realize how you've been seeing things only from one country's perspective. And so when it comes to current affairs, you start to realize there are so many different perspectives, so many different participants in one issue. It's really eye-opening, I think.
So everybody discuss about it and take everybody's opinion.
Yeah, and take politics class, for example. You realize it's really difficult. It's challenging when everyone is used to one particular system.
Subject, yes.
And so that is sort of something you have to overcome in the beginning. But other than that, you learn so much about each other's countries. I think that was one of the most valuable things from the first year.
How do you Japanese students accept the foreign students such as you and from other countries?
Right, and so you'll see that in a range of situations. For example, Japanese students can participate in our classes as well, and I think by participating in our class, they show some form of acceptance. They're choosing to speak English with us. They also have a social circle they call, which is called TGIF.
How do you
not thank God it's Friday, but
TG?
Yeah, Todai. The acronym, I forgot.
We'll check it out later.
There's a group called TGIF, and they aim to create that link between the university and international students like us, and we have like lunches together, we have some social events together, and I guess they want to, create that friendship with the international students on campus so that we're not isolated. So that's one way. And another way is, I think a lot of students in the PEAK program itself are starting to join a lot of extracurricular activities and clubs, sporting clubs or literature club, and they would have to use Japanese in that situation.
I see.
And create friendships using Japanese.
So how is your Japanese?
I would say...
Let's say from 1 to 10, what do you grade yourself?
Maybe a 6 or 7.
Oh, that's pretty good. Just
maybe
1
we're on
year.
different scales.
Wow. So before that, when you were in Australia, like you said, in high school, you pick a Japanese, but the Japanese you learn in Australia and the actual Japanese in Japan is so much different,
I think it's different, particularly speaking casually.
Yes.
I think when we learn from the textbook in Australia, we start from formal register so that we don't make mistakes when we're in public. But speaking casually, surprisingly enough, is the hardest part. And when I came to the university and started making friends and joined some club activities, I became exposed to like casual settings. So I learned how to speak at a normal pace and just speaking casually. Yeah, so I think it's improved.
So how is Tokyo University, the impression or the concept, you know, of Tokyo University to you? I mean, before you come to Japan, you understand what kind of college it is, right? So once you step in there and 1 year passed, what is your thinking?
I was definitely aware that before I entered the university, when you tell someone, especially in Japan, that you're in the University of Tokyo,
Everybody's shocked.
They're so shocked.
Yes,
they're
yes.
like, wow.
Genius.
Yeah, you have this little bubble around you because it's amazing. Not everyone can get in.
It's very difficult to get in.
It's a little bit intimidating.
Yes.
But after a year passes, you realize everyone respects each other. Everyone understands there are things that they don't know themselves, and there are things that you can teach them. And so it feels friendlier once
Do you feel the curriculum is kind of hard?
The workload is definitely a lot heavier than what I was used to. I went from 4 courses a semester to like 16 courses in a semester, and so I'd be there 5 days a week.
Wow.
Possibly from 9 to 6.
Hard working.
It was challenging, but I got used to it eventually.
Good. Okay, well, very interesting to hear your experience in Japan, especially in Tokyo University. Next week, I would like to get into the subject that you came to the United States, your purpose to produce a documentary film, and please tell me about that.
Sure.
So thank you so much. See you next week.
Thank you.
Good morning to you, Sherry-san.
Good morning.
Thank you for last week, your wonderful story about 1 year in Japan in Tokyo University. This week, I would like to ask you, because last week you mentioned that you were going to produce a mini documentary
That's
film
right, yeah.
about the Japanese American here,
Right.
their parents or grandparents or even great grandparents' marriage and their life. And I just happened to see there's a team Harborgate.
Right.
That's your team.
That's the name of my team.
That's the team going to produce this documentary film.
Right.
Everybody from Japan?
No, Team Harborgate consists of 3 members, including me
Okay.
as the producer. We
Right.
have the director,
Okay.
Haruna Kaneko, and the cinematographer, Ryosuke Umesato. And together we make Team Harborgate.
Okay, so you 3.
That's right.
Wow. So how was it? I mean, how is the project progressive right now?
So you can say the project has been in the works for months now since we.
So you've been here for almost a month?
Oh no! As in, we've been doing preparation. We've been getting in contact with interviewees.
Right.
We've been
get
organizing
here.
dates before we've come here, and we came up with the concept probably 2 or 3 months ago when we first met for this program. And now it's only the beginning of our short time in LA. And right from now, we start to meet up with our interviewees and conduct the interviews and film.
Wow, most
and
exciting
editing.
part, huh?
Yeah.
So when will this documentary film be shown?
We'll be
Academy Award?
Oh, that would be a dream. But we hope to have the final cut by next month.
I see.
So a month from now,
It will
hopefully
be
we
shown
can show
at
the final.
campus,
product.
or where are you going to show this film?
Right, we'll have a little screening event on campus for all the professors that have been involved, for the students, and anyone who is interested in seeing what we made in LA.
So far, how did you find out? I mean, up until now, how was the stories all about?
So up until now, we've just been in contact with the interviewees.
Oh, so you haven't actually, did you go to interview someone already?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
We've just been in contact through emails, reading up on the internet and through books and materials that the professors have given us. But up until now, no real interviews.
Here's one that says "sha신 hanayome."
Right, that's the focus of our
Yes,
project.
and but those sha신 hanayome, it's gone. They're
That
not in
was a
this
while
world.
ago.
So where are you going to look for
Right.
them, and then?
So we want to explore that part of history
Right.
through their descendants. And so we will be interviewing Japanese Americans ranging from Nisei to even Gosei, so 2nd to 5th generation.
Even Nisei is almost gone.
Right, but
Right.
we've been able to get in contact with some of them.
Some Nisei.
Right.
Wow, amazing.
And I think having a variety in the generations that we'll be interviewing will give us a really interesting result on how people see their own family history and how it affects their own perspective on the themes of marriage and romance and how those two relate to each other.
But then again, for you in Japan, you came from Australia, go to Japan and study, and then try to understand Japan and everything there. And then all of a sudden, you come to America and find a Japanese American here, so another
Culture.
Right, for you to study, to explore. And why you wouldn't do this kind of things?
Well, I feel like I can relate to Japanese Americans, I guess the identity crisis, if there is one, but because I am Australian Chinese myself, I find myself stuck in between 2 cultures, so I really wanted personally to explore this theme and speak to Japanese Americans about their own identity and their own history and how it relates to them right now. And so I don't feel like it's that foreign to me, like I'm stepping into another culture again. It is somewhat like a mirror of my own life and my own situation right now.
So are you projecting yourself, your future love and the marriage and those kind of things as well?
Yeah, and we just don't just want to focus on showing that, presenting that history to our audience, but we also want to see how that relates to their own perspectives on marriage and romance right now. We know that the Shashin Hanoyome, when they first came and agreed to marry, it wasn't completely out of romance.
No romance at all.
Perhaps there was some romance, as we'll find out in the interviews that will come in the next few days. But I'm sure it was a lot more about hard work, and it wasn't just for themselves but for the family and the generations that would come. And we want to see how people see marriage in relation to that, because it was their own family, their own relatives that were undergoing this, that were having to go through this, and I want to see how that relates to them today.
Can you imagine yourself as a picture bride?
It's really difficult. I know when my team and I were first reading about Picture Brides, it was a very emotional scene that was being described to us. And to travel for months and finally meet the man in this photograph who I've never met before.
And sometimes it's completely different from the picture.
Right,
that's what I heard.
I would feel so nervous. I would not know how I would agree in the first place. And also the life that would follow, I'm sure it wouldn't be easy sailing.
Right. That's why I'm asking you, would you put yourself in, if you're in that situation, have you ever thought of that?
I would have to be very brave. But I think the prospect of a new life, new opportunities, is something that drew a lot of them to America. And that is something I guess I would be excited about as well. And I think that was one reason why I came to Japan, for something new, a new opportunity that not everyone could get. And so I guess I say I would.
But in this Shashin Hanayume, basically they're same Japanese, right? They just live in a different country.
Right.
But if this Shashin Hanayume is completely different race, then that would be even tougher.
Right, I can imagine.
So you haven't thought that if you're, kind of a picture bride and try to marry to someone even different culture, different race.
Right, and if I knew nothing about them or their culture, I'm sure it would be difficult. But I think especially with my generation, a lot of people in my generation now are not so, we don't feel that interracial marriage is that
true.
alien of
This
a
is
concept.
almost more than 100 years ago.
Right, and so I feel like, especially my generation, we've accepted that as a norm, and I don't see myself not far. I don't see myself not being in an interracial marriage.
Right, I understand. Okay, after commercial, tell me something about that.
Sure.
Sherry-san, I understand that you were born and raised in Australia, but you're in America. We call it second generation Nisei.
Right.
And your parents are Issei, first generation.
That's right.
But in Australia, you call yourself Issei. No?
It ranges from person to person, but it would be, I guess, second generation.
You can become a second
Chinese,
generation,
yeah.
huh? I'm kind of curious that we all know that Australia is what you call that. They have the government has a policy. It's all white policy, right? For so many years, and finally they opened the immigrant to come into their country. So is that the time your parents came in, or?
My parents came about 30 years ago, so
it's about time, huh?
Yeah.
About when they opened the
yeah,
door.
definitely. I think it was about a time when there were quite a few immigrants coming from all over the world.
Really? Did your parents ever mention anything that it's kind of hard or tough to try to live in a all white at least this country
Right.
has a black, has a Mexican, has a Asian,
Right.
so you don't feel that this is all white. But
Right.
Australia, probably all white, huh?
I think by the time my parents came, there were quite a few immigrants that found themselves in the same situation. So it wasn't completely an all-white Australia at that time, except I think coming from China, where everyone would naturally be Chinese around them.
Mhm.
It would be a bit of a shock in the beginning, but I think discrimination wasn't so
Obvious.
it wasn't so obvious. It wasn't everywhere, but at the same time, it wasn't completely gone.
Mhm.
So my parents, they don't seem to like to talk too much about the troubles that they faced, but they really said it was like a new beginning. And Australia itself was still growing and still is, and so it was just
Positive thinking.
yeah, I think they are very positive. They like to think about the opportunities rather than the setbacks. Yeah.
But I would think you might want to go back to China, study their Beijing University, or you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And it's kind of very curious and interesting that you decided to choose Japan.
Well, I think if I went to China, to an extent, it is a place I am really familiar with. I go back at least once a year for the past few years of my life. So it would be an environment I would be slightly familiar and comfortable in. And so I wanted to, I guess, push myself, challenge myself in a foreign environment. Obviously, Chinese language is not something I'm completely comfortable with or fluent in. In fact, I would say maybe I'm more comfortable in Japanese now.
Really?
Yeah, but I think, well, my mother tongue would be Chinese.
Yes.
I'm still I would always be connected to China in some way, and I would see myself returning someday to learn the language or experience my own culture. But Japan, I'm completely unsure, and so it was an opportunity to find myself in a foreign environment and test myself, learn Japanese and meet Japanese people and live with them for not a few months but 4 years, and be able to live life as they would. And I think that is a rare opportunity I would never get.
It's very interesting, if you were born and raised in China and go to Japan, but now you're born and raised in Australia, go to
Right.
Japan, it's a big difference there, right?
It is a big difference.
Right.
But I think as long as you're open-minded, I don't think you would feel the difference as much as you would if you weren't prepared for it. And so I feel like the past year has been quite good to me.
Right. And there are so many universities and the colleges in Japan.
Right.
What make you pick a Tokyo University?
Oh, well, Tokyo University is known to be the best in Japan.
Well, everybody knows that.
Yeah. First of all, I thought that studying in English in
Yes.
Japan is a new change, and it is the beginning of something new that I want to be a part of. And the government is allowing part of the G30 program to globalize the campuses. Several universities all over Japan to start these English programs. I only applied to a few of them, and Tokyo University came to my high school and gave a presentation to my
Really?
Japanese class. And it was from that presentation
You fall in love.
I saw the campus, I saw photos, I heard about the university and the program, and it just sounded like a dream. And so my teacher, Mizoshiri Sensei, she really encouraged me to apply. Getting into University of Tokyo seems very unlikely, but with the support of my teachers and my family, I applied and I made it, yeah.
Good. So you think you made the right decision then?
Oh, definitely. No regrets. From what I'm studying right now to my life in Japan, it is something I would not have been able to get in Australia, and it is a really rare opportunity that not everyone can get.
Which part do you think that's the way,
Oh,
that's the one you felt? The most impressive?
the most impressive.
Right.
I think it's the people around me. In my program, everyone is from all over the world. If I was studying in Australia, I'd be, with people that have very similar backgrounds to me, and I might not be able to be in a setting. There's only 24 people in my program. It's quite a small classroom, but that also means plenty of discussion, and you'd hear from each person over the year. We're not like a quiet class, I don't think.
So you learn a lot from Tokyo University. So after graduate, do you think you can bring something back to your country? I mean, something for you, it's a very precious experience back to your country. Do you think there's anything you can do that or bring it back?
I think there's been so much that I've learnt in the past year in being in Tokyo, and I would like to see myself going back to Australia and bringing something that only I could have experienced through the program. I can't say for sure right now what I would take back.
Just still 3 more years to go.
There's 3 more years.
But at least it's in your mind that this is what I'm going to do. Is there anything like that?
Right. I think the university has been very kind to us, accommodating the international students into our campus, and I think in Australia, at least, the international students may feel a little isolated or tend to like group.
Really?
And I feel like if there was more energy in like the student community to include the international students within the domestic student community, would have such a lively, amazing campus, and we'll be able to share ideas that wouldn't have existed if otherwise.
So you think Tokyo University is doing a very good job?
They're doing pretty good considering this is only the 2nd year of the program. But I feel like there is an interest within the student body to, I guess, to not integrate, but to invite the international students into their community. And I hope to see that grow even more in the coming years.
Still have a little bit more space to grow, huh?
I think so.
Good. So maybe Tokyo University or Japan needs you.
I'd like to think that they need us. Yeah.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you so much, Cherry-san. Very interesting about your life and your goal for making this mini documentary, everything, and Tokyo University too. Thank you so much, and I wish you luck.
Thank you for having me.
And then maybe after you finish your film, please show to us.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.